The other misinformation being put out there is that maybe sunspot activities are causing global warming. So how do we prove that global warming is in fact related to human contribution of greenhouse gases and other activities like deforestation, urbanization, and so on? Okay, so this is where the science of detection and attribution come in. So we are detecting that the atmospheric temperatures are warming. So you can see the change from pre-industrial period in degrees centigrade and degrees Fahrenheit. As of now, we are up over 1.2 degrees centigrade or around 2 degrees Fahrenheit global mean temperature change from pre-industrial levels. And this shows the models that are used by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, to make future projections. They cannot make future projections unless they prove that they can reproduce the past. Okay, so the observed change in temperatures that we saw before are shown here in the thick black line, which has lots of ups and downs. The models produce the ups and downs, but they are not going to perfectly match each year because the simulations are started with some initial conditions, and then as you integrate forward, let's say your simulation from the model started in 1880, and when you integrate for more than 150 years, the memory is lost, so the model produces its own climate. The beauty is, if you give the models the top of the atmosphere energy from the sun, they can produce weather, they can produce climate, they can produce monsoon, El Nino, Pacific Decadal Oscillation, snowstorms, glaciers, sea ice, everything. Okay? But obviously they are not perfect. It's like buying a new car and having a little problem. Something creaks, it pulls to a little, and so on and so forth. But you can see that given the human drivers of increasing CO2, methane, change in the reflectivity because of urbanization, agriculture, deforestation, and so on, the models are able to produce the warming rates that have been observed. So models have some reliability that we can quantify. But in the models, the beauty is you can take out all those forcings. You can remove the carbon dioxide, you can remove the land use change, prescribed vegetation from the 1880s, for example, and so on. And then you will see that this green line says that if you remove human contributions, there is no warming. Okay? So this is called attribution. Detection is where we say, we have detected a global warming signal and it is robust and it is significant. And attribution is where we can say with these experiments that the warming is directly related to human activities in terms of increased greenhouse gases. The other doubt that is always sown in people's mind is to say solar activity can cause global warming. Well, here is the warming again, temperature with 11-year average. Why? Because sun has 11-year sunspot cycle. Sunspots are these twisted knots of magnetic fields on the sun's surface which change the energy. In fact, more the sunspots, less the energy coming from the sun. More the sunspots, more the energy coming from the sun. More the sunspots, more the energy, because sunspots are dark, but around them you get something called plage, which is much brighter. So the actual amount of energy coming to us increases. So fewer the sunspots, less the energy being received. For example, during the little ice age of the 16th, 17th centuries, mostly focused on Europe, was related to sunspot minima that occurred during that time. May have also had contributions from volcanoes in the beginning. Okay, so you can see that the contribution from the sunspots is actually, in terms of watts per meter squared, has in fact been decreasing in the latter part of the 20th century, where the warming accelerated. So there is absolutely no chance that sunspots are contributing to global warming. People say volcanoes produce lots of CO2, and you can see the CO2 increase we have observed here in Mauna Loa, and the eruptions of Ogung, El Chichon, and Pinatubo, and they measure what is called stratospheric optical thickness, how much dust and other material is ash is put in the atmosphere and how it changes the radiation penetrating through. So they do create cooling, global cooling temporarily. But you can see that there is no blip in the CO2 at all. Volcanoes emit millions of tons of CO2, whereas we are emitting billions of tons of CO2. So volcanic eruptions are not making any significant contribution to explain global warming. It is entirely from human emission of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Here again is the skeptical science.com and realclimate.org sites you should visit if you are interested in climate change communication or just in climate change science. And there is incredible amount of information available there that provides these kind of plots that I'm showing with explanation from experts. And then there are lots of comments which also get answered quickly and rapidly. It's like a task team that is on to make sure that the misinformation doesn't hang around and spread in these echo chambers. Of course, you cannot completely stop it, but nonetheless, it is a valiant effort to keep climate change science on track to informing people about accurate science that actually answers all these questions that people have. Many of the people have actually doubts about what volcanoes can do, what sunspots can do. So you cannot just dismiss them. You have to show them proof of why their questions can be answered from the science we know very well, science that is reproducible, accurate, and precise data, models, detection, and attribution.